Edie Lush here at the Hub Pavilion in Copenhagen, and I'm very pleased to welcome Hannah Jones. She's the Vice President for Sustainable Business and Innovation at Nike. Thanks a lot for coming along and talking to us.
No problem.
Tell me what you're doing here in Copenhagen.
Well, we're here really because we have a huge interest in seeing a strong deal being struck at Copenhagen. As a business that operates across the world with supply chain across the world and consumers across the world, we see that there's massive value in us seeing a strong deal and a price on carbon. And once that happens, we think there's going to be a new wave of innovation that's unleashed that's actually going to help all of us to grow our business and to see more jobs happening across the world.
So tell me why Nike's interested in a strong deal, because from some businesses' perspective, maybe the sort of dinosaur view is that they don't want to see a price on carbon, they don't want to see a real leap forward. But why are you guys different?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I think that business is extremely divided on this, and I think that there's not been enough attention paid to the fact that a large and growing number of businesses is actually seeing that climate change is a real threat, but that equally it's a huge opportunity for us to move into a low carbon economy. The second thing I'd say is, as someone put it, as a scientist put it, if a captain of an airplane said to you, there's a 10% chance of this plane actually arriving at your destination, would you get on that airplane? And the answer is, no, you probably wouldn't. So when you think about it in that terms, we think that we are going to need to change. And we would much rather take the action now than later. The cost of inaction is far higher than the cost of action now. And in fact, we're already seeing huge benefits from taking a really hard look at our value chain and thinking about how we can reduce our dependency on natural resources. What
kind of benefits are you seeing?
Financial benefits, but also it's a new lens with which to look at innovation. So I give you some examples. We're really looking at how can we start to think about removing fossil fuel from our materials and from our value chain. The more we can reduce waste, for example, the more we can remove our reliance on oil that's volatile in terms of its pricing and is bound to get more expensive, the better we're going to make our business from a financial perspective. Suddenly we're finding new materials, new ways of servicing our consumers and new business opportunities, and that's really exciting.
So tell me about a new Nike shoe, and if it's not made with the use of fossil fuels, what is it made with the aid of?
Well, so we have built what we call the Considered Index, in which all of our designers are now designing not just to think about performance, but also to think about the environment. And they're making real-time choices as they draw the shoes, thinking about how they can reduce waste, use environmentally preferred materials, and actually think about ultimately creating a shoe that could be recycled and regenerated and reused again. As of 2011, every single one of Nike shoes across the world will be meeting these new environmental standards. And those standards are ones that we're going to increasingly be making tougher and tougher. Our end goal is exactly as I said, to get to a place where any t-shirt or any shoe that you buy from Nike, you would actually be able to recycle and regenerate. And every single day at Nike, we are showing ourselves and others that doing good for the environment is about doing good for your bottom line.
And in terms of a company, besides just the shoe, what are the initiatives that you're doing as a company to reduce waste and recycle, et cetera, as a company?
Well, if you take our distribution centers, in particular the one here in Europe, it's the biggest distribution center in Europe. And it's actually 100% renewable energy. We have 6 windmills that we built, so it's completely fueled from the windmills. In addition, we generate additional energy that we then have given to the local community. And guess what? It's less money. In the last year, we've been working with our factory suppliers who are based all over the world, but in particular in some of the emerging economies like China and Indonesia and Vietnam. And they weren't actually measuring how much energy they were using in their factories. It just wasn't something they were thinking about. So we went in, we climbed all over the factories with energy meters and grids and actually measured their energy consumption for them. And just the low-hanging fruit is enabled them to look at anything between 16 and 30% savings on their electricity and energy bills in 1 year. Those are just the low-hanging fruit. We know that if we can get enough adaptation funds going into those countries and funding the shift to renewable energy, our factories can start to be way more efficient and start to be able to be part of a much bigger supply chain that moves into this low-carbon economy. It's not going to be about cost, it's going to be about opportunity.
Hannah Jones from Nike, thanks so much for coming here to the Hub Pavilion in Copenhagen.
Pleasure, thank you.